Hi, welcome to the podcast that explores what virtual assistants want business owners to know when they start asking themselves the question, hey, do I need a VA? I'm Rachel Davila, and after 18 years as a virtual assistant going it alone, I experienced the steep learning curve from the other side of the VA client relationship when I hired my own VA. Joining me on this podcast is a group of friends and colleagues who all have their own take on what busy entrepreneurs need to know to find, hire, and work with a virtual assistant, and mindfully answer the question, hey, do I need a VA? Let's get this episode started. Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Hey, Do I Need a VA? The podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Davila, and with me always is Bree BV, Leanne Uremli, and Quinn Hubbard. And today we're welcoming our first guest of the season, Jessica Kleine. Jessica is a money mindset coach for women entrepreneurs who helps them create a life with more of what they want and less of what they don't through her framework of money plus mindset plus magic. In this episode, we'll dive into the mindset shifts behind making that first hire and why learning to delegate is such a powerful step toward abundance. And we will deep dive into all of that throughout the episode. So first things first, Jessica, tell us about your journey and what inspired you to become a coach for women entrepreneurs.
Well, I have been an entrepreneur of sorts for 25 years-ish, maybe, not counting my babysitting years when I was a kid. I have always done something on the side. I don't really know where that came from, but that has just been like, well, my parents were entrepreneurs, so I guess I do know where that came from. So that's just kind of the path that I started on. So I always, even when I had my 9 to 5, I was, slinging stuff on the side all the time to my coworkers. So entrepreneurship is just something that I kind of stepped right into and didn't think anything of. In terms of helping women entrepreneurs, as a woman entrepreneur, those are my people. I've been a stay-at-home mom for a very long time, and I'm raising 2 girls. So the power behind entrepreneurship is really kind of where it's at. And I focus mainly on women just because I feel like that's where a lot of the change can happen, because when women tend to build a better lives for themselves, it trickles down more so than in other kind of areas. So I've always had a thing for just empowering women.
That's amazing. You talk about the idea that everyone wants more than enough. What does that mean to you, and how do you help clients achieve that?
So more that people assume, since I'm a money coach, I'm talking about more than enough money. And yes, that's a big part of it, because money is where you are allowed to then make choices. Like money equals choices. If you don't have money, it's a lot harder to do things that you know are best for yourself when that is the reason you have to make decisions. But when I'm talking more than enough to women, especially women entrepreneurs, it's the money, but it's also more than enough time and more than enough energy and more than enough passion and like the other parts of life besides money that we get so focused on. But especially as women, like, yeah, we want the money, but we want the connection, we want the time, we want the freedom, we want the peace, we want the quiet. Like there's a lot of other things that we want. So when we're talking about more than enough, it's more than enough. Life is basically what it is.
Interesting. Can you tell us about the framework of money plus mindset plus magic? Can you share kind of what the elements mean and how they work together?
Yeah, sure. So when I started my business as a money coach, I was very focused on the money. We had paid off our family's debt. I did the whole get debt free. Nobody started singing for me when it happened, so that's like not all it's cracked up to be. But I started my business very much focused on the money itself, the budgeting, the getting out of debt, the numbers part of it, which is important, but it's not as important as the other 2 pieces. So as my business started evolving, I added more mindset work because now I'm in the coaching space, and coaching is a lot of mindset type work and changing your thoughts and changing your beliefs. And up until probably a year ago, I was still missing a piece. Like I was helping clients and their numbers would get better and their mindset would shift, but they would still be stuck. There's still like a stuck point that a lot of them would have, and myself too. Like, okay, I can manage the money, I can organize the money, great. My mindset, great. I know my stories, I know where it's coming from, what's missing. And over this past year, the magic is the part that's missing. And magic for me is the energy of money. It's your nervous system regulation. It's how you feel, not just how you think about money, but how you feel about money. and the intuition behind it, and just the magic that people say. You read these stories of people who kind of out of nowhere just explode, which is never the case. That's just what we think. But a lot of it has to do with how they feel about things. And that's the magic that I've been wanting to tap into. So that's where I've been adding more of that into my business and more into just my own personal development too.
I love that so much. Many business owners, especially women, struggle with guilt around wanting more. What mindset shifts can help them embrace abundance without feeling bad about it?
So we are very much conditioned to believe if I have more, you have less. And that is not how abundance works. Like, we think it's a cake or a pie or a cookie, like whatever dessert you want to put in there. We think abundance and money is this thing. And if I take a bigger share of it, that means there's less for somebody else. And again, as women, we don't like to do that. We like to share. We like to make sure everybody gets a piece. And because we have this ingrained kind of thought that abundance is limited, it makes us feel bad when we do want more, even though wanting more is just like, that's just showing you're growing. That like, look at nature, trees are growing all of the time. Growth is a good thing, and wanting more is a good thing. And also being happy and content, like, be happy with what you have. That's that magic piece. But growth is not bad, and you wanting more doesn't mean less for someone else. Like, if I were to take a deep breath in, that doesn't mean my children are going to suffocate because I just sucked too much air out of the room, And it's the same with abundance. Like, there is more than enough for everybody, but because we're so trained and conditioned to think that there's not, because we are raised in a society of scarcity, basically, we're built to feel bad when we want something more or something better for ourselves.
That totally makes sense. In your experience, how does shifting your mindset about money and success also change the way you approach business growth?
So, kind of staying on that same wavelength, when we think money is limited, we often think money and abundance is bad. Again, wealthy people are greedy and mean and all that kind of stuff. So we have all of these subconscious thoughts about money already. Money is the root of all evil and blah, blah, blah. There's a bajillion different thoughts out there of why money is bad. So when we're starting businesses and we're getting into business, there's kind of a two-part issue going on. Number one, our subconscious thinks money is bad. So we're not going to grow a business if it thinks money is bad, because that's going to bring me more money and that's going to make me bad. Again, it's just kind of one of those deep ingrained thoughts that a lot of us have. It's just one of many, but that's one issue. The other issue is money. Once you can get past the money isn't bad, it's a tool. Money is an energy. It's something meant to be used. It's not an obstacle to overcome. So when you can start looking at money in a way that you can build a relationship with it instead of fighting with it all the time, you become kind of more aligned with all of your decisions around money. You start to feel better about money, which will then start to change how you make decisions in your business. So your business will start to grow more in alignment, to use, the woo-woo kind of types of words. But your business growth then will start to happen not because you're forcing it by forcing money to do things or forcing these decisions. You're doing it more in a flow type of space, more of a place that, again, the magic that feels good, and then your business can grow. It's just, we just have this messed up relationship with money. Most people, not everybody, some people do not, but most people just have a crazy relationship with money that's very messed up and very like battle driven. And that's not really a comfortable. You can grow a business that way, but it's not going to feel good.
So one of the things that this season is about is connecting our audience with specialists, because our audience are busy entrepreneurs who are looking to find, hire, and work with a VA. And we've talked a number of episodes about there are times when a VA can do the things and they're the right idea, the right fit for a business owner. But sometimes a specialist, a strategist, a coach is a better place to start. So that's why we're having you on this episode. When it comes to like a money mindset, what shifts might be important when preparing to delegate for the first time?
So people assume it's going to be a money shift. Like, I have to make sure I can afford to hire this person, but it's actually most of what I deal with in the realm of work with me has very little to do with money. People hire me because they think it's all money related, and then we talk and it's not. And in this instance, one of the big issues is it's an identity shift. You are suddenly going from I'm the one who's doing everything to now I have to become a person who can lead somebody else and teach them how to do this thing. The identity of I'm a solopreneur or I'm bootstrapping it or I can do it all has to shift to become somebody who's comfortable handing that off, first of all, who is able to release control, which is a big issue with a lot of people, is the control, I have to do it myself or else it won't be right. So that's another like identity shift that has to happen. So that's why it's a much deeper decision than just, oh, I want to, or yes, I can afford it. It's also shifting into that kind of extra responsibility that also a lot of us feel like we're very hyper responsible people and we know we can do it ourselves. So on top of the identity shift of letting somebody else in to support us, it's also shifting to be able to actually receive that, because we're really good at giving and we are lousy at receiving. And being able to be someone who can receive the support, receive the feedback, receive the extra time even, because we like to fill our time, that can be a big change for a lot of people, women in particular, but a lot of people practicing receiving and that identity of somebody who, yes, I can do it myself, but I don't have to, is probably one of the biggest shifts.
So with a specialist versus a VA in mind, if they were looking at the path, when would they veer towards talking with you versus pushing through with a VA?
That's a good question, and I think everybody's going to obviously be a little bit different. For me, so I'm gonna put my bookkeeper hat on for a minute, because that's one of the tools I use with clients as I do bookkeeping type work. And on the like flip side of that, so coming in as the bookkeeper who was hired by somebody as like a first hire basically in their business, knowing from the bookkeeping standpoint of I don't know enough, I can't train somebody else how to do it for me. I need somebody who already knows how to do it so I can just kind of tweak things for them. I feel like it's probably a similar vein with specialists versus, I'm going to say general VA, even though I know that's not, like VAs all have specialized stuff as well. So if you know my email is crazy, I need to get somebody to help me get under control with my inbox and all of that. Okay, that's probably a VA type stuff. If it's more, I need to market this specific thing for this specific audience for this specific time or whatever, okay, you might want to look into like a marketing strategy type specialist as opposed to somebody who is more trained on just scheduling the stuff for you, you know? So it's almost like knowing the difference between a deep dive kind of a person where you're needing more information and knowledge or somebody to kind of take that on for you versus I know how to do this, I just don't have to do this myself anymore, so I can hand that off to somebody else.
How do you see hiring support as part of stepping into abundance rather than scarcity?
So abundance for me means trust. If you are hiring somebody because you trust that your business is going in this direction, you trust your future self, you trust your decisions, like you want to hire from that place of trust. Sometimes we wait too long to bring somebody in, so now we're overwhelmed, we're overworked, and so now we're operating more on a must-do, forced kind of scarcity type side. And while you can hire from that end as well, oftentimes the result isn't going to be as good. You might go through different kinds of people because you're in the headspace of scarcity and frantic and overwhelmed and you don't have time. So either you're going to hire the wrong person potentially, or you're not going to hire somebody at all because now you're too overwhelmed and I can't teach somebody else how to do this. So when you can be in that more abundant, trusting, everything's going to work out kind of, which is not easy for entrepreneurs to do when we do all of the things. But when you can step into that space and know, okay, everything will work out. I am confident that I know what I'm doing, so therefore I'm confident I can show this person how to take this off my plate. That's going to be a much different kind of a way to go about bringing on your new hires as opposed to like, oh my God, I waited too long and now I don't have time to do anything. So seeing it from that abundance of there's just always more. There's always more time. There's always more energy. There's always more something as opposed to, oh my gosh, I'm out of all of the things. We never want to make decisions from that frantic very high drama kind of side of life.
We talk a lot about fit over cost. And as you kind of alluded to with the scarcity versus abundance mindset, sometimes people are like, I have so much I need to do. I need to hire a low cost VA to get it all done. And it ends up, they look at cost versus fit. And how could you help a business owner see the value and the investment and focus from finding the right VA rather than just outsourcing it or going cheap?
So there's a couple of different ways here. So number one, you use the right word, investment. There is a big difference between an investment versus an expense. And a lot of times business owners who don't think it through, a VA to them, well, that's an expense. It's something I have to do to knock all these things off so I have room to do the important stuff. And hopefully this isn't, I'm not saying what VAs do is not important by any means, but like in terms of the business owner and where they should be spending their energy, that's one of the reasons to hire a VA is to take off the stuff off their plate that the business owner does not have to do. So by thinking of it as an investment, by investing the time to find a quality person who is going to kind of match with you, that goes back into that magic aspect. The energy behind it is very important. If you're talking to somebody, they may be inexpensive, cool, and if it feels kind of ick when you're talking to them, or if they're just going to yes you the whole way just so they can get the business because they're desperate too, it's probably not going to get you what you want. And just from my own experience, the people who are nickel and diming, let's put it that way, are sometimes harder to work with too. So like if you're going for the lowest cost in order to save money, you're actually going to be probably spending a whole lot more of your time, a whole lot more of your energy trying to train this person, fixing this person's mistakes, doing things with this person that you would not have to do had you spent that little bit more on somebody who was maybe a higher caliber of what you need in your business right now. So it's a lot of times it's the time and the energy you're going to save, which ultimately then brings you more money, as opposed to saving the money and spending your time and energy where it shouldn't go. You're actually going to shoot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, and what a mental load lift too, right?
Correct. Yeah.
For someone who's hesitant to pay for that first invoice, what practical steps would you recommend to ease into delegation?
First, know where your money is, which is what a lot of business owners don't want to do. It's know your money. Be aware of when the money is so that you know if you're even in a position to be able to hire. There are some like logistical kind of steps to have in place. If you're not bringing in enough money to already pay for the stuff you're already doing, you probably shouldn't be hiring somebody else quite yet. There's other things you're going to want to have in place first. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have like a year's worth of this person's, pay set aside, saved already, like don't go overboard on the other side. But there are steps that you can check, like, okay, even if it's just 5 hours a month, like, okay, where can I find to make sure I have the income to cover somebody for 5 hours a month? In terms of like an all or nothing kind of thinking is what a lot of us do. 5 hours a month for some people, oh, that's not going to be enough. I need to hire somebody full time. I need to do this. Okay, but do you really? Like, no. It's not an all or nothing. Start small where you can handle it, because your nervous system is going to freak out if you like jump headfirst into something without knowing somewhere in your brain that you can handle it. So like take care of your body, take care of yourself. Start small if you have to, knowing that you can build it up, as opposed to jumping all in and now potentially having to fire somebody because you didn't think it through all the way first. There's a handful of like little logical steps you can do just to make sure the money's actually going to be there, because knowing the money is going to be there like on a spreadsheet isn't the same as knowing the money is going to be there because you are trusting yourself and taking that step to give yourself more space to bring in more money. Hence the crazy magic talk that I do.
That's awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, got it. So if listeners were to walk away remembering just one thing about abundance and hiring support, what would that be?
There's so much more out there than you realize. Like, abundance is unlimited. It just is. You don't have to believe it if you don't want to, but that doesn't make it not true. We're really good at finding the evidence for what we think is truth. And if you are stuck in this, I can't afford to hire somebody, I have too much other stuff to do, blah, 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 your brain's going to find all the evidence to be like, yep, absolutely, you are right, here you go. So you have to learn how to kind of like take off the glasses of what you think you know and be open to the bigger picture of, okay, if I hire somebody for taking this off my plate, what does that open up for me over here? Like it's not a keeping score kind of thing necessarily. That's not really how things work. But when you open up space in this area, you're opening up that, like Bree had said, the brain space, the mental like load kind of lessons, which then opens you up to more creativity, to more energy on what you're doing, to more opportunities that'll come your way because you're not so focused on this little part right here that I can't figure out. Well, now you handed that off. Now you're open and you're going to meet somebody at the coffee shop who could be a giant client who refers 15 people to you. Like you just don't know. You have no idea. But if you're not open to understanding that that's how this works, you end up just kind of sitting in your own little puddle of misery and you just kind of sit there and you pout about it.
There's a lot of magic that comes out of having space, right?
Absolutely.
You share a client story or a story of your own where hiring out created a big transformation in time, energy, or growth?
So one of oh my gosh, I have a handful of client stories where that happened. I'm going to put my bookkeeper hat back on again, just because as somebody who does get hired to give people space, I can talk from that end, sometimes even better from the other end. And I have a client, she was very overwhelmed. She was very stressed out. She's behind on things. She's a hot mess. I came in to take that off her plate and get her cleaned up and basically just do the stuff that she hates doing anyway. I've had 2 clients that this happened to. And by doing that, nothing else changed. They hadn't done anything else in their business. They hadn't marketed more. They hadn't done, but both of their businesses like doubled because of the mental space that was released, because they hate numbers and they hate the bookkeeping and they hate all of that, which, very few people actually enjoy that part. But like by taking that part off of their plate, it was able to open up so much more that they would have never seen otherwise because they were so like bogged down in all of that. And on like the coaching end, when I'm helping people, when they're aware of their money and they're aware of where it's going and they're aware of the thoughts that are kind of keeping them stuck in this little bubble. I had a number of clients where they have this dream. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. We can't do it. We can't do it. Well, then we work together and I show them like, actually, look, it can happen. Here you go. And one of them retired early and bought a dream house. And another one is planning a cross-country move that she never thought she'd be able to do until she retired. And another one was another like dream house kind of a thing where they wanted a better school district and a better house and all of those things can happen. You just have to be open to it. And when you're open to it by handing off things that you don't want to do, you can tap into your own magic in your own business. Like business owners have so much opportunity and we forget. We forget we're creating something out of nothing, which is amazing. Like that's just huge. And most people won't do it, but we are so in our own little entrepreneur bubble that we see what everybody else is doing, and we forget how unusual, but in a good, how weird we are, but like in a good way. Like we are taking risks, we are doing things different, we are living lives on our own terms, and it's not easy, but we know how much better it can be. And when we allow ourselves the opportunity to bring people on to support us in that, like that's a whole new world. That's just you like unlock, like in a video game, like you just unlocked your next level. There you go.
And even just not knowing what numbers to look for, what they mean. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like it is all a jumble to me. Like, unless somebody else is like, no, these are why you need to know these numbers. I'm like, can I pay the bills? Can I not pay the bills? That's like, right?
Well, and a lot of us, when we start business, if we're not doing it because we want to look at spreadsheets all day, like that is not why people start business, unless you're an accountant or something, which like, I don't even want to look at spreadsheets all day, and I do. But like, that's not why we get into business. We get into business because we have a passion for something, whether it's a product or a person that we're trying to help or like a whole group of people, like we get into it because we have a passion and we can see something better for our futures and for their futures. That's different than let's make sure we can pay the bills. Like, it's just not. So you need people in your corner who maybe that is their passion. Like people who are money coaches. Okay, we have a thing for money. It's like a puzzle and a game for me when I look at numbers and I look at things and trying to figure out how to get it to work a little better and what can you cut here or what can you add there. Like that's kind of fun for me. Most people want to poke their eyes out with a stick with it, but like it's just different. So when you find the people who also have a passion for their little corner, somebody who loves to make graphics, maybe you hate making graphics, somebody else, that's their dream job. Like it's just fun. Like being an entrepreneur is so fun because you find those other people who fill those places for you, and not only is your business growing, but now their business is growing too. Like it just helps all of the different people in all the different places.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that filling the gap. VAs tend to fill the gaps that business owners have. Sometimes they know what they are, and sometimes it comes through working and going, oh, I didn't even know that you could do that, and that I need you to do that. And I love that. And as a shout out to you, Jessica, even experts who do the things, I went to Jessica because I was like, I can't make this work. It's not working in my brain for something that I'm working on. And she just held the mirror up for me like I do for clients. And I was like, you're looking too far ahead. You need to scale back. And you're lost in the bottle, right? You can't read the label if you're inside the bottle. And it was super helpful sometimes to just have somebody to talk you through the spiral when you're in it to get you out of it. And I know for me, I spent a lot of years working on my money story and healing it because of all of those, right? Ask somebody for it, and, I got to do it myself. And, so sometimes I'm better at it than others. Other times I'm like, oh my God, I can't pay Quinn. I'm not going to be able to do this. What was I thinking? You know?
Yep.
But
Well, that's the importance of having somebody like a coach or like even sometimes peers you have to be careful with sometimes. Love all of my peers, don't get me wrong. I've had issues with peer relationships where you think they're helping, but really they're not. So sometimes there is the extra layer of when you have somebody who that's their job is to just listen. So as a coach, like I take in information that people give me and I hear what they think is the problem, but with the right kind of questions, you find out the problem isn't over here. Actually, it's something from way back over there that you didn't even know was related, and it's having somebody that you can talk through things. It's basically just holding that space so that you can see a little bit more clearly what's actually going on. Because in area like whether it's business, money, whatever, when we do get so focused on the problem or what we think is the problem or this one little part, we forget that bigger picture. And that bigger picture is where you can actually see how that thing that you think is the problem is actually connected to this, which is to this, which is to this. And if you can figure out that thing back there, all of these other things will fall into place. But we don't know what we don't know. So a lot of times we try and, like, I love journaling and I love all that kind of stuff to try and get the stuff out of your head. But sometimes that just keeps you stuck in the circles because you only see what you're allowing yourself to see. And sometimes that outside perspective is what you need to actually make that next step, that next change, that next decision in a way that's going to benefit you as opposed to keeping you stuck.
And I could see where our audience could really benefit sometimes because, talking through with me on what they're looking for, what they need, they might go into the conversation with one idea and walk away going, oh, that's not even the biggest pain point now. And so having that kind of perspective, and money is a big block for a lot of people when they're starting on this journey because it's not just, I know for me it was a huge block. I mean, I wasn't bringing in the money, but I was like, if I don't hand it off, I will never get to that next level. I will not level up. And working at the place where I could.
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
And that's how we sabotage ourselves a lot, is by keeping ourselves stuck in the weeds, stuck in these little details, stuck in these, I have to do this myself kind of stuff. Well, that's keeping you from stepping into who you could become. But we don't realize that when we're in it. So that's one of the That's one of the ways that people get unstuck is by doing something scary, like hiring a new hire. Like hiring their first person is a giant scary move for a lot of business owners. But until they do that and they like basically show what is it? The what's the quote with that's like from Spider-Man or something with responsibility, great power has great responsibility or whatever. Um it's until you can give that and release that control over things, you're not going to be able to step into that next version of you that is going to be that more impactful, that more influential to people, the person that you wanted to become when you started thinking about this business is being held back by the person you are right now who's worried about all these little bitty things that you don't have to worry about.
I think it goes back to that abundance versus scarcity mindset piece.
Yep.
Because if you believe, if I put this pool of money aside for help, the universe will fill the void with something else. That's a huge
it's very
leap.
much, it is. And it's, I mean, we're all so stuck, stuck. We're like pre-programmed into scarcity mode basically once we're kids and we're starting to grow up. And it's a lot of work to deprogram from those thoughts and beliefs that there is going to be enough and it is going to be okay and I can do this. You know, there's so many areas where we keep ourselves small because we feel like we have to, because that's what we're taught to do. But I don't like that rule. So I decided rules are dumb and we're going to do things different. And one of them is to actually trust yourself.
Does anyone else have any other questions for our guest, Jessica?
I have one. You might have already kind of answered this, but what's your favorite part about your business, about what you do?
My favorite part about oh my gosh, there's like 800. My favorite part about my business is the opportunity to be creative with what I'm doing and doing it my own way and having the flexibility to do it however I want and having the time. I'm just going to list off all of the things and basically having the time to do stuff like that, like to meet cool people, to talk about cool stuff. I get paid to learn basically, and I love to learn because I'm a big nerd. Like all of those things. It's the freedom and the flexibility and, you know, money is in there. Yeah, cool. It pays the bills. But like it's all of the other stuff is actually the stuff that I love more.
That. And then the last question is, where can people find you and learn more about your work?
Oh, I am like a mid-branding area right now, but all of my stuff for right now is under my name. My website is just Jessica Kleine, yes with an E.com. I am most active on Facebook. I am working my way up to getting slightly more active on Instagram and LinkedIn. My handle for all of those things is Jessica Kleine02. So yeah, that's probably the best place to find me is click around on my website, which will hopefully be changing soon, and send me Facebook messages. You can send me emails. I like talking to new people. So any place you can find me, throw something at me and I'll catch it. I'll figure it out.
One quick question. Do you only work with people in the US?
Not on purpose. That's all it's been so far. My business has been like 95% word of mouth and referrals. So I tend to stay where like groups of people are. I'm virtual, so I can be anywhere. In terms of the financial side, like the bookkeeping and stuff, which is just one tiny part of my business, yes, that's all been US because that's where I'm most familiar with taxes and all that. But money organization in general can be across the board. In terms of the coaching and the kind of mentoring and all of that, I talk to anybody as long as it's English because that's the only language I speak, fortunately.
Jessica, thank you for being a guest today and sharing your viewpoint. It was very informative and very helpful, and I hope that our audience gets something great out of it.
I hope so too.
If you enjoyed this conversation, give our podcast a review, a like, or a share. And if you have any questions about what came up today, you can email any one of us or use our email, heyvapodcast@gmail.com, or the links in our link tree. We will put Jessica's information in the show notes so you can connect with her directly if you're so inclined. And thanks again for being here. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hey, Do I Need a VA? The podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a like, comment, or review. And feel free to join our Facebook group, Find, Hire, and Work with a VA, for more tips and tools. If you have any questions, please email them to heyvapodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. We'll see you next time.